Ladies and gentlemen, we have swept the decks clean. Tomorrow's election coverage, we're getting Tucker Carlson on and James O'Keefe, it looks like, who's done it again. That guy deserves like 5 Pulitzer Prizes, a true journalist. That's a drudge that's coined that term. O'Keefe does it again and again and again and again. Got video, exclusive undercover video shows North Carolina poll workers offering ballots to ineligible imposter 20 times, putting voter ID battle on front burner. Yeah, O'Keefe caught Democrats in Texas saying we're going to bring illegals in and have them vote. Illinois has introduced a bill that was, well, it's passed their House and Senate. I think it was unanimous in the Senate. We covered it Sunday with David Knight yesterday. That is a ballot initiative to let people vote, quote, from any country of origin who are not citizens. Imagine the boldness of saying, if you can get here, you can vote. It's just over the top crazy, but it'll probably pass. It passed the Illinois Senate unanimously. I'm living in the twilight zone. I know I just keep saying that, and I really am. Because I read all this news, I look at it morning, noon, and night. I sit here before the show going through hundreds of articles, just staring at it. It just creates an image, an irrefutable image of people out of control. And you study history, that's what elites do over and over and over again. So we're going to be breaking this down today. You want to talk election? How about we talk about this article out of Politico, Obama readying for lame duck presidency. Obama faces the loss of his rabid fan base. Well, you know what? He's got a veto. He's got his executive orders in his telephone. Stroke of the pen, law of the land, kind of cool, as Begala said, working for Clinton. And he's got a bunch of people like Mitch McConnell in the Senate. He'll probably be the new leader of the Senate. And he's got people in the House like Boehner. The answer is get rid of Boehner, get rid of Mitch McConnell. McConnell's not as bad as Boehner. Hard to believe that, but it's true. I've looked at their voting records. And get Rand Paul, Ted Cruz types in there. And then we could really start doing things like lowering taxes and watching the economy explode. Getting rid of Obamacare waivers for McDonald's and others. Abolishing Obamacare. Can you imagine what that would do? We're like a boat tied to the dock with the motor going, and we're not going anywhere. We've got to cut the rope. Everything they're doing is to shut the economy down while promising to get it going. It's easy to get the economy going, but under Agenda 21, they don't want us to have any wealth because they say it's bad for the earth. Wealth is not bad for the earth. It's the type of wealth. It's the type of industry. But classical wealth improves the environment. Everybody knows that. Humans, in many cases, make the environment better. Wildlife just flocks to parks and places. And humans turn the desert green. I'm sick of this idea of putting humans down. While the elite fly around in their big jet airplanes and red carpets telling Africans, you can't have a car, you can't have air conditioning. Washington Post says 96% chance Republicans will sweep the Senate. CNN says 95. New York Times says 70%. I don't know what the truth is because undoubtedly there's a massive political realignment happening right now, but there's so much election fraud going on by the Democratic Party nakedly that I don't know what to expect, but it's hard to overpower a landslide. 2014 is everything. It was once said, and I agree with that statement. It is so critical that we reject Obama. Well, the big election day is tomorrow, and we're broadcasting worldwide on this November 3rd, 2014 global transmission. I am your host, Alex Jones, and we're going to have 3 hours of news and open phones today. No guest today. We've got Tucker Carlson on tomorrow, and it looks like James O'Keefe, who's done it again. He's going to be joining us as well. Wow, there's just so much to get into. There's also a lot of Ebola news as Ebola continues to spread across Africa. And Obama said last week he wouldn't be surprised if more cases don't pop up here. And we see reports out of Spain over the weekend that they believe al-Nusra or al-Qaeda or ISIS may try to get infected in Africa with Ebola and bring it to the West. They don't need to do that. We have Obama to do that. And Spain has a government that brought Ebola patients in to spread it successfully. So you don't need Islamicist sleeper cells to bring it in when you have Western governments that are doing it. Here's another headline dealing with that from Breitbart. Singapore requires visas for Ebola-hit African states. Isn't that interesting? AP is also reporting this. Citizens of Guyana, Liberia, Sierra Leone will need a visa to enter Singapore as part of a measure against the spread of Ebola. And guess what? They're not issuing the visas. But the United States is. A poll reports, this is up on Infowars.com, 71% back mandatory Ebola quarantine in U.S. Rand Paul, libertarian in me, horrified at government-enforced detention. Well, you're a medical doctor, Rand, and you know the only way to stop it is to shut it down when it first gets here, or then we end up with tens of thousands quarantined. A new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll finds that almost 3/4 of Americans want to see government-enforced mandatory quarantines for health workers returning from West Africa. Yeah, that's just a default measure. A whopping 71% of respondents said they felt health workers would have treated Ebola sufferers abroad should be subject to 21-day isolation if they show no symptoms of the virus themselves. If you're treating people with Ebola in Africa, you should not leave the country till you've separated yourself from the hot zone. You're still in the country, but not up against the patients. That's the real hot zone. And then you stay 21 days or more at the medical center or wherever, and you don't show signs, then you leave. In fact, so you don't come here and quarantine, you quarantine there. That's the default. Why is it being ignored? Why are medical workers bringing it in? Why is it spreading? Why is there an obvious cover-up? That's what I'm getting at here. Fifth doctor in Sierra Leone dies of Ebola. That's just some of the news. I'm done covering that. The big news, obviously, is election news. I want to play this report coming up in a moment. James O'Keefe offered a bus load of ballots in North Carolina, and last week he proved that they were letting illegals vote. That's one guy with a camera person who is the model in my newsroom of go out, do things like that. That's real investigative journalism. That's going out and showing the fraud. Remember him 5 years ago? Going into multiple Acorn Mafia facilities. They're mafia, in my view, and saying, hi, I've got sex slaves from Latin America, children. I want to run them as prostitutes on the street. They go, sure, we'll help set up your operation for you. It's quite normal. Just make sure you put them in the public school. That will not arise any, of the government's suspicion. Or CPS may get called. Do you understand the systematic evil to just walk in to facility after facility and they're just ready to do it? Do you understand the level of premeditated criminal mindset we're dealing with? So we're going to get into that report. He said it again. He said it last week. He said it again. This is what we need. Get on the offensive. Weather Channel founder says man-made global warming is baloney. And we've had Pastor Chuck Baldwin and others on talking about this movement a few years ago that was launched by the Liberty Movement, by this broadcast in part, not bragging, just showing how we can have an effect. All across the country, churches are defying the IRS, endorsing candidates, daring the agency to sue. Thousands of libertarian or Christian conservative style churches are saying, look, the Democrats openly collect money. They openly endorse who they want. We're not endorsing a Republican or a Democrat. We're endorsing someone who's pro-life. We're endorsing someone who's pro-self-defense. We're endorsing someone who's pro-family. We're endorsing someone who's pro-business that we believe follows the ideas in the Bible of liberty and of free will. That's the real message of the Bible. And do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And so Politico's kind of trying to sick the IRS on them. Hey, they've already been attacked. And see, this is how America always works. The system thinks we're cowards when they come out and say, hey, you better not talk about government or we'll audit you. You better not demonstrate at a pro-life rally or we'll come audit you. Better not give money to the Tea Party, we'll audit you. Better not go out and hold a sign outside or we'll come after you. Better not film the police or we'll arrest you. That just makes 10 times more people come out of the woodwork to go out once you start pushing people around. I've said this thousands of times. Americans aren't really cowardly. In fact, most Americans are super hardworking and come from vicious stock. Vicious, nail-eating, bare knuckles boxing, just swashbuckling, you get ready. Everybody knows that. The whole world knew that. All the foreign Japanese and French historians came here in the last 200 plus years and marveled at the United States and the people here. And so even though we become fat, dumb, and happy, we've still got it in us. And so Americans have become totally focused on bread and circus until they get pushed around, until they get bullied. And the system thinks that, oh, we'll just have the IRS take old ladies' pension funds with no judge, no jury, no proof of fraud. Oh, we'll just have the police out running warrantless checkpoints to take blood. Oh, we'll just push, and we'll audit 20,000 Tea Partiers a year, and we'll intimidate. All that's going to cause is a giant backlash. Sure, it's super cheesy, but we should probably find the clip on YouTube from Star Wars in Episode 4 where Princess Leia is on board the Death Star talking to Governor Tarkin or whatever his name is, and he's telling her that he's going to blow up her home planet if she doesn't answer his questions. And she says, listen, the tighter you squeeze, the more star systems will squeeze through your fingers. And that is what we know historically happens. It doesn't just happen in fictionalized accounts a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It happens historically. And it particularly happens with Americans. The reason I'm on air is that people messed with my family. People in the government did. The reason I'm on air is because I then saw farmers and ranchers having their houses taken and their farms taken by the environmental land grabbers who turned around and sold it off to build on it a few years later. I saw the mafia in action. And at a fundamental cellular level, started thinking, how do I, in the 21st century, that was back in the 20th century, but how do I, looking forward, resist them? And I said, I'll do whatever I can to resist them, and I'll blow the trumpet to get other people to be watchmen on the wall, to try to rally more people to resist peacefully this operation and have a velvet revolution of renaissance and awakening to this tyranny, to this injustice. That's why they scream racism all day. That's why they push all these distractionary issues, is because, sure, there's some racism going on all sides out there. There are groups of whites that go out and find blacks and attack them. There's groups of blacks that go out and find whites and attack them, and Hispanics that go out and find blacks and attack them, and blacks that go out and find Asians and attack them, on and on and on, and Asians that find other groups of, Hispanics to attack. There's all sorts of gang warfare going on at a dumbed-down level. But at the end of the day, 98% of us aren't involved in that. We're all going under Obamacare and the death panels. We're all having our jobs shipped overseas by design. We're all being told we didn't build a business. We're all being told our kids don't belong to us. We're all being told we don't have a right to own guns. We're all being told we don't have a right to have a vehicle. We're all being told we don't have This is a bunch of bull. And so we just come together on these simple ideas. And I don't care who delivers them, the Republicans, the Democrats, the Libertarians. I don't care what you call the organization or group. We need to put our ideas out and then support whoever promotes them and get out of this partisanship. But the Democrats, when they were in power, got on a power trip that I've never seen the likes of. And they have run absolutely wild. Crazy Tasmanian devil meets Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, meets Woody Woodpecker, meets Jeffrey Dahmer, meets Adolf Hitler, meets Joseph Stalin, meets the most crazy stock market person you could imagine. I mean, it's wild. And it's out of control, and they've gone too far. We have to have an indictment of Obama, and if we can't get one in the Congress with an impeachment, we can get one in the court of public opinion with a referendum on everything socialist, everything collectivist, everything big city machine of the oldest party in this country, the Democrats, who have perfected racial division and distraction and diversion and dumbing people down, and they're willing accomplices in the media, and they're willing accomplices in the Republican Party. This is a referendum on all of these people that this is not business as usual, and we don't care how much you try to militarize the cops and how many armored vehicles you buy and how much police state training. It's the police out there. I've talked to them, who are probably more awake than anybody else in the country other than the military. Does that not mean there aren't legions of bad cops and legions of political police? No, they're there. But I'm telling you, the most awake group in the country other than the military is the police. That's not good for the establishment. You understand, the establishment's in trouble. We're going to come back, give the number out, play the O'Keefe piece, take your phone calls. It's all coming up. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Stay with us. We are back live. I'm your host, Alex Jones. Don't forget, we're going to send out on the daily email this afternoon. You can sign up for free at Infowars.com/newsletter. We're going to send out the video link so you can watch the nightly news for free, even if you're not a subscriber, tonight and tomorrow with the 2014 midterm election coverage. And we're going to be on the air tomorrow night, 6 p.m. to midnight Central at least, with our entire team, myself right in the middle of it, hosting. We're going to have a lot of special guests on, Greg Palast, you name it, just a lot of other people with live coverage with Darren McBreen, Jakari Jackson, Leanne McAdoo, Joe Biggs, John Bound, Rob Dew, and the whole crew behind the scenes tomorrow night. But we'll have expanded coverage as well tonight, 7 o'clock Central, prisonplanet.tv. We're also going to have streams on the YouTube channel, at the Real Alex Jones channel. And we're also going to, again, have a live feed at Infowars.com/election or Infowars.com/show or prisonplanet.tv. I want to go to this clip. North Carolina election officials repeatedly offered ballots last week to an imposter who arrived at polling places with the names and addresses of inactive voters who hadn't participated in an election in many years. No fraudulent votes were actually cast. It was the latest undercover video sting from conservative activist James O'Keefe, whose filmmaking resume reads like a target list of liberal causes. He's brought down multi-billion operations. He famously shattered Acorn, the community organizing outfit linked to Barack Obama. He dressed up as Osama bin Laden and crossed the Rio Grande, showing how the border's wide open, on and on and on. And this is what anybody in media could do, showing the hypocrisy. And notice how he shakes them to their foundation. InfoWars has shaken the system to its foundation. DrudgeReport.com, shaking them to the foundation. And it's great to have an O'Keefe or a WorldNet Daily or a Matt Drudge out there, because I don't like being one of the only big missiles being fired at the establishment. It is dangerous. And believe me, if Republicans are doing stuff like this, we'll be exposing it. The difference is they just start big wars and build more prisons, which I don't like, and support Patriot Acts. They don't just run these mafia operations. And I'm not even saying they're good. It's just the Democrats are so evil. Let's go to this clip. And then it's official. The new Samsung TVs, they put it out in the press release and the terms and conditions. Samsung listens to you in live time and warns you that they are indeed monitoring everything you do. So it says, watch what you say. I remember I told people 8 years ago under a Google patent this was going on. We're going to cover that after the break, but here's James O'Keefe and Veritas Project.
I'm James O'Keefe reporting from North Carolina. There are more than 700,000 inactive voters in the state, according to the Voter Integrity Project. These are people the state has essentially lost, which creates a recipe for voter fraud on a massive scale. Don't believe it? Project Veritas Action has proven it. Watch how many ballots I get offered from election officials throughout the state.
What's your last name?
We easily accessed North Carolina's statewide voter rolls. From there, we were able to isolate the inactive voters. The next step, to visit early voting sites across the state and ask if they had that person's name on the list. We were careful not to say we were that person.
Now, 4618 Is correct.
That's the correct address.
Road, okay. And let's see if there's anything else in here. George the third.
Yep, that's the correct name.
All right. And Raleigh 27612. That's all correct.
That's right.
Take a look at this. Make sure that's all correct. And if it is, sign for me down there.
So I'll just sign this and then I'll be able to vote afterwards.
Yes.
Some 20 times, nearly a busload, we were just a signature or two away from voting. Of course, we never signed anything, but we could have. And if we had, we could have voted and no one would have been the wiser.
Shane, Shane, CO?
I have Shane Allen.
Yeah.
Just about every time we offered to produce ID to verify our identity, we were quickly told it was unnecessary and almost scolded for offering
That's right.
to show it.
All right, that's enough. See the full video up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Imagine the identity theft that this is causing as well using voter rolls. And they don't want to have voter ID laws to vote because this is part of an organized globalist takeover of America with Democratic Party operatives running the polling places. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life. Ladies and gentlemen, we have swept the decks clean. Tomorrow's election coverage, we're getting Tucker Carlson on and James O'Keefe, it looks like, who's done it again. That guy deserves like 5 Pulitzer Prizes, a true journalist. That's a drudge that's coined that term. O'Keefe does it again and again and again and again. Got video, exclusive undercover video shows North Carolina poll workers offering ballots to ineligible imposter 20 times, putting voter ID battle on front burner. Yeah, O'Keefe caught Democrats in Texas saying we're going to bring illegals in and have them vote. Illinois has introduced a bill that was an image, an irrefutable image of people out of control. And you study history, that's what elites do over and over and over again. So we're going to be breaking this down today. You want to talk election? How about we talk about this article out of Politico, Obama readying for lame duck presidency. Obama faces the loss of his rabid fan base. Well, you know what? He's got a veto. He's got his executive orders in his telephone. Stroke of the pen, law of the land, kind of cool, as Begala said, working for Clinton. And he's got a bunch of people like Mitch McConnell in the Senate, who'll probably be the new leader of the Senate. And he's got people in the House like Boehner. The answer is get rid of Boehner, get rid of Mitch McConnell. McConnell's not as bad as Boehner. Hard to believe that, but it's true. I've looked at their voting records. And get Rand Paul, Ted Cruz types in there. And then we could really start doing things like lowering taxes and watching the economy explode. Getting rid of Obamacare waivers for McDonald's and others. Abolishing Obamacare. Can you imagine what that would do? We're like a boat tied to the dock with the motor going, and we're not going anywhere. We've got to cut the rope. Everything they're doing is to shut the economy down while promising to get it going. It's easy to get the economy going, but under Agenda 20, well, it's passed their House and Senate. I think it was unanimous in the Senate. We covered it Sunday with David Knight yesterday. That is a ballot initiative to let people vote, quote, from any country of origin who are not citizens. Imagine the boldness of saying, if you can get here, you can vote. It's just over the top crazy, but it'll probably pass. It passed the Illinois Senate unanimously. I'm living in the twilight zone. I know I just keep saying that. I really am. Because I read all this news. I look at it morning, noon, and night. I sit here before the show going through hundreds of articles, just staring at it. It just creates, one, they don't want us to have any wealth because they say it's bad for the earth. Wealth is not bad for the earth. It's the type of wealth. It's the type of industry. But classical wealth improves the environment. Everybody knows that. Humans, in many cases, make the environment better. Wildlife just flocks to parks and places. And humans turn the desert green. I'm sick of this idea of putting humans down. While the elite fly around in their big jet airplanes and red carpets telling Africans, you can't have a car, you can't have air conditioning. Washington Post says 96% chance Republicans will sweep the Senate. CNN says 95%. New York Times says 70%. I don't know what the truth is because undoubtedly there's a massive political